Afternoon. Welcome to members of the Cabinet. I've got two in the room with me, Councillor Stephen Sweeney, who's Deputy Leader, and also Councillor Trevor Johnson, who's Cabinet Member for Recycling and Planning. And joining us online today are Helena Maxfield, Cabinet Member for Health, Community Safety, etc. And then also Jill Waring for Sports and Leisure and Heritage. And also Paul Northcott, who's our Growth and Planning portfolio holder, and also officers joining today. And also welcome to anybody that's joining us on YouTube as well. If you need to look at the agenda, it's on the Council's website under the agenda section. So we'll move to our agenda. The first item is apologies. I don't have any because everybody is in attendance today. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do I have any of those from any Cabinet members? No? Okay. If we move then to the minutes of our last meeting, which are on page 5 to 8 of the agenda, can we agree those as a correct record? Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
And that brings us to our first item of business, which is our coronavirus update. Obviously, as any avid watchers of the Cabinet will know, we've had a report throughout this period of coronavirus through the first lockdown. And now we're obviously just entered the second lockdown, which everybody's aware about. So we're looking at a report here which covers a number of sections: our support for business, our support for the vulnerable people, council services, and the economic recovery and the financial recovery as we go forward. I think, as we all know, lockdown started last week, and of course now we as the Borough Council are committed to supporting local business and also particularly supporting vulnerable people within our communities. The first item we're going to discuss is that support for businesses. I'm going to bring in Stephen Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. The government has given us more money to support our local businesses, like it says. The first of the ones, which is local restrictions grant proposed, these are businesses that have actually told to shut and shut. And because of what's gone on in the last 5 or 6 months, we've got a lot of information on these businesses. And we emailed everybody on Friday who we thought was eligible, sent out 942 emails. And as of yesterday afternoon, we've actually sent out 396 cheques have been posted. The other 3 sections are a bit more fiddly. They're not desperately complicated to work out, they're just fiddly, really. For example, we went into stage 2 on the 1 AM on the Saturday morning. By Thursday, we went into full lockdown, so those 5 days have got to be prorated out, and this is fiddly. It's not particularly hard to do. It's just fiddly, and we're busy working out the exact terms of reference to that. And hopefully they change all the time because government keeps coming up different angles on it. But they'll hopefully start issuing those this week as we speak. So I think it's been experience in the past. I think we've learned lessons. And a lot of information is already there, and we're just following it through. I think it's going to be pretty well done, personally. Okay, thank you, Steve. That's really good news that we were already, up and running on this, and those discretionary ones which we have more control over, we'll be obviously moving forward with those as soon as possible as well, so that those businesses can get the support they need. Is there any other comments on from Cabinet members on support for business? No. Okay. Moving on then to support for vulnerable people. Bring in Helena, portfolio holder.
Thank you. Yes, as you already said, that we've hit into lockdown 2, and with this, the council has actually stepped up its support again for our vulnerable people. Support services that we have delivered have all stepped up in readiness to receive calls from those which are being made vulnerable by any restrictions that are in place. We've got our severe weather protocol, which is actually also already in place in any inclement weather that we might receive. And we've got other care networks which were very proactive during the first lockdown, which are now setting up again, ready to receive calls and any vulnerable people demands that come their way. Our homelessness team still continues to work with those vulnerable people who are sleeping rough and placing them in temporary accommodation as appropriate. So yeah, hats off to the team for continuing working during our second lockdown. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. I think you're quite right there. That, a lot of work is taking place to really ramp up that support for vulnerable people, and of course working with our partners as well in the Realise Foundation and support staff. So we will be stepping up with them to ensure that there is support there for particularly the elderly and also those that are isolated and lonely in this. I think they are going to be the ones most affected by this lockdown, particularly with the darker nights and the colder weather and the pressing in on people. I think we need to be there to support. I'm sure all those groups that really ramped it up over the first lockdown out in the communities in Newcastle are doing the same again. I know that a lot of councillors are involved in that across the community as well. So thank you to them for the work they're doing and what they're going to do over the next few months. Anybody else on vulnerable people? Paul, your camera's on. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is very important that we maintain this going into what's a second lockdown is going to increase the vulnerability of our most at-risk residents. Those lines, specific lines of work that have been prioritised, for example, going through the Realise Foundation, are absolutely vital. We can't afford to take our foot off the gas, so to speak, with this, because it's clear that some people may slip through the net, and it's important that we can give that wraparound service whenever we can. There may be exceptions to this, but this is vital that we maintain this support for this particularly at-risk area of our resident population. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Great point made there. Stephen?
Yeah, the second section, the revenues and benefits team and processing applications for payments to individuals. Now, this is when your phone goes ping and you've been near somebody, so you have to isolate from home. So if you haven't, if you've got a job that's in going to pay you, there's a £500 grant. We've had the Borough Council has £109,219 to pay out to people to encourage them to, when the thing goes ping, to stay off work. So it's £500 over a 2-week period. That's what it is.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to the next section, which is council services. First of all, I'll bring in Jill Waring and then I'll bring in Trevor Johnson. But Jill Waring, from your point of view, obviously the leisure services are impacted by lockdown too, aren't they?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, I mean, although the second lockdowns are absolutely necessary, once again, J2's been closed. We were just starting to recover members from the last lockdown. But as the report states, in the meantime, the staff are working hard to provide online activities, not only for the people of the town, but also for our officers, and are again planning for the reopening. The lockdown also affects the museum like every other in the country and the community centres, and likewise the staff are doing the same as the J2 staff, and I'm pretty confident that they're doing everything that can be done in this situation that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Trevor, from you're in charge of a lot of the frontline services such as waste and
we've got
street
waste,
scene.
yeah, waste, street scene, recycling, and on the face of it, out there for the residents, everything is as normal. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of jiggling people around because of the absenteeism, but that has also improved this week from last week. The only problem area we really have is Nesta's team. We're quite a bit behind with our food inspections of the takeaways, and we're looking at that at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's quite understandable, because Nesta's team have been at the front line and the
Absolutely.
vanguard of the COVID work, haven't they? In a very small team,
Absolutely.
dedicated team, and they've really, dealing with the outbreaks and cases across the borough. And that's fallen on our local teams to do that. And I'm not surprised that they've fallen back, but we are aware of some of those important, particularly as you said there, Trevor, those important things that their teams still need to do, don't they, for public safety and other areas as well.
Yeah.
But okay, thank you for that. Next one is the economic recovery. Obviously, we are in a period where our town centre is in a hibernation stage again. A lot of shops are open, of course. Those that are selling goods which are seen as essential. Also, a lot of businesses have turned to click and collect and delivery services. I've learned from and adapted from the first lockdown, which is really good to see. But there will be obviously a big drive if we do come out of lockdown before Christmas to support our town centre, and our staff of the council will be there to help businesses and work with the business improvement district to ensure that they can open and get the benefit of that Christmas trade, which we want them to get, which is so important for many businesses across the borough, not just in the town centre. So we will be watching that very closely and reacting to any changes that happen after December the 2nd. We've also got our Future High Streets Fund bids and our town deal bids chugging along. We have got the Kids Grove on our agenda later. We're waiting to hear back on the Future High Streets Fund bid for the town centre, and also work is progressing fast on our Newcastle town deal as well, which will be submitted in the spring. So there's a lot going on really, which will really help economic recovery when we do come out of this coronavirus saga which we're in at the moment. So I think the news about the potential vaccine possibly from next year, early next year, would really sort of help us to get on that road to recover. And we're putting in place with our partners as a council the measures which will hopefully help us to recover quickly and to get back to where we were before, back on track, but also to grow even further, particularly in our town centres, both Newcastle and Kids Grove. Last section on the coronavirus report is the financial recovery side. Steve, I know you've got the MTFS coming up, which is a lot of detail on the finance in a bit, but have you got anything to add under this section?
I'm going to repeat myself to answer if I talk on the MTFS.
So I think, I think the point I'd like to make really under this section is that we've worked closely with our local MPs and the LGA to bring in funding. It says there, we've had £2.152 million from central government to help us to cope with COVID and the results of COVID, the loss of income, and also for us to provide those extra services to obviously the homeless and to get those business grants out. And I think we've had everything we could have wanted from government, and I think they're really listening to us going forward as we, within hours of the new lockdown coming in, we were getting emails about support for the homeless. As Stephen said earlier, the tier 2, which we were going into, were only in for a few days, led to an injection of government cash. And on the Monday before that, we had £400,000 from the government to help us to deliver services. So I think there's a lot of criticism for the government, but I think from a local authority point of view, when we have asked for funding to help us to deliver services and also to help the vulnerable and the businesses, the government have delivered. I think we can say that. Anybody else want to do any comments on the financial recovery or any other part of the coronavirus update before we move on? I don't see anybody. Okay, so the recommendation is that we receive this report and we note its contents and discuss it. We've done that. Okay, all agreed?
Agreed.
Item 2 then is the medium-term financial strategy 21-22 to 22-26, and Stephen's going to introduce this. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. At the moment, the council has received £2,409,650 in actual cash. We're expecting to receive, when this is all finished, at the moment, it might change again, £4,109,000, because we've got £1.7 million worth of this income that we've lost from, say, Jubilee 2, from car parks and things like that. So money comes, so we're expecting to receive over £4 million. And I don't want to exactly reiterate what the leaders just said, but really, this is work by ourselves, by the LGA, by our MPs, by the government who've listened and actually taken on board what we've told them, and that we need this. We're not messing about. We do need this money, and they've listened, and they've given us in fact £4 million extra to make up for the shortfall, including the extra £408,000 of emergency funding, which was announced in October. Nevertheless, it is clear that COVID will continue to have a negative impact on the council's financial position for some time to come. In particular, it will take time for income levels to fully recover, and it remains to be seen what the longer term impact will be on the collection fund, both in terms of collection rates and the cost of the local council tax support scheme. There's also uncertainty regarding government plans for local government funding. Now the plans with 3-year spending review business rates resets and fair funding have been put back on the back burner. So setting a balanced budget for 21-22 will be challenging, but then again, it always is, and it's a challenge we're up for, and I'm sure we'll achieve. However, the council has worked hard over the past 2 years to put its finances on a sound footing. We now have more realistic income budgets, a 10-year capital strategy which allows us to plan ahead. We're using flexible capital receipts to fund initiatives that will deliver efficiency savings, i.e. the digital sort of programme, and we have increased our revenue reserves. There's more work to be done, but we are better placed than many to weather this particular storm, in my opinion. Good progress has also been made identifying the savings needed to balance the 21-22 budget, and draft proposals will be considered by Cabinet and FAPS in December for that. We fully expect there will be some more good news in the November spending review in the forms of additional government support for collection fund losses. But as ever, we are taking a prudent approach and looking at a range of scenarios so that whatever the outcome, the council remains financially sustainable, both in the short and the medium term. In the meantime, we'll be pressing ahead with our key priorities, including refurbishment of the Kids Grove Leisure Centre and our ambitious plans to regenerate our town centres, which have been given a major boost by the announcement of 1.75 million advanced town deal funding. Like the government says, we're levelling up our communities. I'm happy to support this MTFS. I think it's prudent. It's flexible. It needs to be flexible. It's strategic. It's robust. Everybody's favourite word, robust. It's resilient. But most important of all, from my point of view, it's realistic. There's no pie in the sky dreams on this. It's realistic where we think we are, and I'm happy to support this. And I've commended to everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you for that full report on it as well. I think I'd echo everything you've said. Yeah. I think probably, given the circumstances, this is probably the most thorough MTFS we've ever brought forward, and I think that's including my time previously as leader as well. I think with the challenges we've got and the climate in which we're operating in, I think that this is really the work we've done on a review of services, on a new operating model which we're going to bring forward, the digitisation agenda, the savings that will give us. All of that has taken a leap forward over the past 6 months. So I think when a lot of people say, "Oh, what have these council officers and members been doing during lockdown and over the summer?" There's been a lot of work really to ensure that we can deliver services, efficiently, don't have to cut unless we really have to. And also that we're making savings across the board to ensure we don't have to cut any services as well. So I'd like to, I'm sure you would like to thank the finance staff for the work they've done so far on this. It's still early in the game. We haven't set the budget yet. And as we over the next few months, we're bringing forward our detailed budget proposals. But this is a start to that and the building block of that. And I think you're quite right, Steve. It's an excellent document that we can all support. I'm going to bring in Paul now.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for the portfolio holder for bringing this report. We all know that the Healthy Authority is one that's based on sound financial prudence. This goes far in excess of what we usually expect from a report like this. It's thoroughly in depth, and I would like to echo the comments from the Deputy Leader in terms of thanking the council staff for all the hard work in these most challenging of times. I mean, nobody will have had experience of this particular troubled time that we're all going through now. We're not alone. Obviously, other authorities are going through the same thing. But we're maintaining those 5 key golden strands to the strategy, that are underpinned by a robust financial situation. Obviously, we're going to be ensuring a fair financial settlement for Newcastle under Lyme, by being the RMPs that we've got a good relationship with for further financial assistance. But more importantly, we're cutting our cloth to match. This is absolutely vital if we're to sustain the I'll use the word onslaught from this coronavirus and the situation that is placing many businesses and residents through. This council must be viable. It must be able to respond flexibly to where it's needed, and I think we've done a fantastic job, both members and of course officers, to underpin all of this and maintain services throughout what is, you know, a second strand now. So I fully commend this report for the next foreseeable future, and thank the staff for putting their hard work and skill into place to produce a magnificent report such as this. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Paul. Echo that. Trevor.
Yes, I will just say what Paul's saying. You know, the staff are to be commended, considering the situation they're having to work in, the way they've adapted to it, or the way we're pushing forward. To be commended. Thank you.
Okay, Helena, would you like to say anything? I'll put your video on.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Hold on. There you go. There you go. Too many buttons to press.
Thank you, Helena.
Yeah, you know, at risk of just repeating everything that everyone's already said, you know, it is right to say thanks to the officers. We are in unprecedented times. We don't know how long this is going to go on for. Just as soon as we think we're at the top, we suddenly find ourselves back down at the bottom again and having to revisit all these areas. So fantastic work, great report, and fully endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Jill, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, I recommend this report also. I think we are living in uncertain times. I think it's great that the government has provided as much support to help offset the loss of income. And I just feel confident that we'll get through this and things will get back to normal. I also think that historically this council has been very good at managing its money, and I don't see any reason why that shouldn't continue. And I also would like to thank the officers. That's it, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. So recommendations before us are that we endorse the draft medium-term financial strategy. We note that gap, of course. I think every MTF that's ever been brought to this council at this stage has always had a gap, hasn't it? And over the next couple of months or so, we will be obviously covering that gap. Item 3, agree the approach to develop savings and income generation proposals so we can do just that in the medium term. And then note the uncertainty regarding COVID and local government fundings as the scenarios play out over the next couple of months. And then 5, importantly, which we do at this stage, refer this to the Finance Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee for their views, which then will be reported back to us at Cabinet at a later date. So those are the recommendations. Do we all agree?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thanks. Move to the next item is item 6, Kidsgrove Town Deal. Now, I just spoke about this at in the first item, that this is one of the things we've been pursuing throughout lockdown, and I was pleased to vote on behalf of the Borough Cabinet at the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board that this be submitted to the government. It has been submitted now as of the end of October, and we're going to try now, we're going to test the technology to the limits here, but we're going to try and put up on screen via our officer David Alkington the video which has been prepared, which showcases the plans and does the talking for us rather than me. Oh, here we go. Press play.
Hello and welcome to Kidsgrove. You might be wondering, where is Kidsgrove? Well, my name is Bea and I'd like to tell you a bit more about my town and our exciting plans for the future. But first, a bit about the local area. We're located on the North Staffordshire-South Cheshire border, where the Midlands and the North come together. There's some brilliant places to live, work, to go to school and to play. It's an area full of amazing history and heritage, but it's also full of some amazing potential. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for my town and my future, and we've got some great ideas. Local people helped us design these plans, and we're excited about what we can achieve and what could happen next.
I've got a great passion for Kids Grove, and the work that I've been doing is to encourage people to come to Kids Grove. So I think this town deal is really, really good news, because it will bring industry, it will bring jobs, it will bring people into the town.
So Kidsgrove's a hidden gem really. There's some really nice views. It's got really good commuter links, especially with the railway station. Just around the corner there's HS2, which Kidsgrove railway station has a direct link to the big station at Crewe. It could be an even better place with investment.
It'd be great to see some investment into the leisure centre. I feel like adding money into the leisure centre will then open it up more to the wider community, which means more people are going to come into Kidsgrove.
Compared to the other areas around us, Kidsgrove may have been slightly neglected, so this money would bring a massive boost.
Small towns like Kidsgrove do need a boost, there's no doubt about it. It needs lifting. It would in turn lift people's moods as well if they saw things were being done.
Investing in Kidsgrove will not only improve the mental, physical and social well-being of the community, but it will also inspire a generation to raise their aspirations so they believe that anything is truly possible.
So now you know more about Kidsgrove, where we are, who we are and what we want from our future. This is a transformational opportunity to make a difference and invest in our area. We hope you'll take the time to find out more about us and Kidsgrove.
Excellent. It's good. It's
Brilliant. Yes, I think I shouldn't have feared about the technology not working. I think that worked really well. But that's just an excellent video, really well presented by the young lady there as well, I think everybody would say. And it really sets out what we're trying to achieve with the Kidsgrove Town deal. We've got 3 objectives to drive the growth and opportunity through enhancing the enterprise structure within Kidsgrove. And that involves the Chatterley Valley site, which is an enterprise and jobs site for Kidsgrove. Objective 2, to create a connected and accessible town centre with its key assets, retains the heritage and uniqueness of Kidsgrove and delivers and drives a new demand and footfall. That's associated with our railway station and also the canals and the remodelling of the town centre there. And then also the 3rd objective, to maximise the leisure and recreation opportunities available in Kidsgrove, providing facilities that support the community and opportunities for residents for their health and well-being, and that's obviously support for the Kidsgrove Sports Centre project, and also some improvements for parks and youth facilities within Kidsgrove. And we've already starting to deliver on some of that with the advance money which the government gave us a month or so ago, which we've now obviously last night at the planning committee. The 3D pitch application was supported by the planning committee, which is obviously a new pitch facility for the school. We've got money obviously in the advance funds for the sports centre, and we're finalising the handover arrangements with the county council so we can get our partner Wilmot Dixon in to start the work of stripping out and refurbing that centre for reopening. And also there's work on some youth facilities and also some park improvements in that advance money that will be delivered by next April. So I think it's a really good bid that's been put in, and I think it's really the people of Kidsgrove have been involved in it. All the groups that take part in the board have been involved. This is a real community effort, and well done to everybody involved. And I'm really pleased that I supported it, to put my hand up and support it a week or so ago. And I think we as a cabinet should obviously retrospectively endorse that. And the recommendations are there for us to look at. But I'll open it up now for any comments. Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. If I can just focus on one particular thing, obviously the whole thing's superb. I think that the film was really excellent, and the girl introducing was top dollar as well. But one particular aspect I want to talk about, I've spent a lot of time in the 60s on the canals. My mother was a teacher. We just went away for 6 weeks in the summer, and then every holiday we just went on the boat. And I can't tell people who don't know how big Harecastle is in the canal world. You know, it's up there with Anderston Lift. It's a massive thing, Harecastle. And of course, Brindley, the guy who designed the first one, which unfortunately was too small because it had to be legged through, he hadn't got a tow path. He's actually buried in Newchapel churchyard, James Brindley. The Telford Tunnels is the next door one that's still used now. But I'm really glad to see this buy-in with the canals and the town centre, because people on boats, they want someone to do the shopping, they want someone to walk along, they want tow paths that you can walk along and things like this. And I think the part of it, I mean, obviously the main focus would in the leisure centre back line. But for me, the canals is an important part of this, and I absolutely totally support the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bring in our two Kidsgrove members now. Start with Helena.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fantastic presentation. Not really much more you can actually add to that, as it is full of positivity for an area which has, you know, suffered from an historic lack of investment over the years. It actually sort of brings in that sort of moving forward and the opportunities of growth and investment in the area is fantastic. So completely welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Jill.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. A fantastic video. Very confident young lady there, B. She talks about my town. It's also my town, and felt quite emotional when I was watching that. And you know, town deal. I'm so excited about this, and I hope it's approved sooner rather than later. If it is approved, it will be the most important infrastructure project carried out in my lifetime, and it's an opportunity by Kidsgrove with an economic boost that has you know, never been provided or even envisaged by previous governments. It's a wide-ranging project, and it looks to increase employment and leisure in a number of areas, and there is the potential there to benefit a large proportion of Kidsgrove. And as you all know, the seed funding has already been approved, and I'm particularly looking forward to the building of the pump track at Chinky Park, or Newcastle Recreation Ground, as it likes to be called sometimes. And I just think that this seed funding confirms the government's commitments to the whole town deal strategy, and I just think it's all brilliant and fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Trevor.
Well, I've had a lot to do with Kidsgrove up to a couple of years ago, working in Kidsgrove. Many years ago, I used to live in Kidsgrove, and there was always that feeling of doom almost as you were going around the town, you know, complaint. But that's changing. You can actually sense it when you're talking to people. You know, there's a bit of hope coming now. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, Trevor. Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, bring it on. Exciting possibilities. And just to echo what an excellent presentation that was, and particularly the young girl that was very clear in delivering the message there to go out to those that want to seek down what the Kidsgrove's about and what this project's about. So, yeah, full steam ahead.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, recommendations before us that the Cabinet formally endorses the town deal investment plan for Kidsgrove, and will receive further reports on the outcome of the TIP submission at the point that's received from the government. Recommendation 2, that the Executive Director for Commercial Development and Economic Growth is authorised to work within existing council resources to continue to support the Town Deal Board. And that's an important point, that the Town Deal Board will go on meeting and will be monitoring obviously the advance money, and also making preparations and developing plans further within the TIP over this period. And obviously the other organisations are involved within that for the development of those projects. And item 3, there's a multidisciplinary officer group is established to oversee the delivery of Kidsgrove Town Centre Town Investment Plan. Just like to add there that obviously in reporting into the portfolio holder, and then obviously through to Cabinet. So if we could add that to the end of number 3 there, reporting in to the Cabinet portfolio holder and then to Cabinet. With those recommendations, can we all agree?
Agreed.
Okay. I think the challenge, before we go on to the next item, challenge now goes to the Newcastle Town Deal Board, who we expect to see a video just as good as that, if not better, and also some plans that will obviously catch the eye of the government so we can get that multi-million-pound investment for our town in Newcastle. And I'm pointing to the chair, the council's representative on there, Councillor Sweeney, who's also the deputy chair, who I'm sure will make that happen.
Well, I'm sure when the video is being done, you'll be able to see Clayton in the distance.
Okay, your ward, of course. Yeah, great. Okay, but brilliant news that we've got that in there, and fingers crossed, and more than fingers crossed, because we're going to carry out a lobbying exercise. We've got our MP on board, Jonathan Gullis, as well, who's been lobbying hard on this and has been inputting into the board as a board member. And I'd like to thank him for his input on this, and thank him in advance for all the lobbying he's going to be doing to ensure we get, you know, all the money, and if we don't get all the money, get a fair slab of that money to be able to bring these plans forward and to fruition as well, which will be great. Okay, moving then to item 7, which is the Nutton Master Plan, and Paul's going to lead on this for us. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, you'll notice the accompanying leaflet that's 80 pages long. I hope you've all had time to read that and make yourself fully aware with the white, young, green, and their recommendations. Yes, I'm bringing this report today. Just a little bit of background. Nottingham's one of the most deprived areas in the borough. It's suffered. It comprises mainly of post-war social housing and terraced housing, and it's missed out in terms of any investment in the past, like neighbours such as Silverdale and Crossheath have received. It has a number of social and community facilities with a very good community heart, but it's felt that it could be so much better, but it lacks that investment. In May last year, the OP, which is the One Public Estate government money, offered to put in money for encourages collaboration between the public landowners to commission a master plan for the area. And to this extent, a further £25,000 was added by Aspire Housing to boost the coffers in terms of preparing this master plan. It obviously came to the master planning project came to Cabinet on 7th of November 2018. But we've, as a portfolio holder, met with both the planning consultants and also the two ward councillors for the area and representatives of the community to ask what sort of thing would they like for Nut, and what they would like to see. There was many messages that came out of that. There was broad political support in principle to it, but obviously there was concerns about relocating possibility of the community centre or rebuilding that, a possibility of that, and also an expectation that Norton keeps the Section 106 monies in future for any development that takes place there. So, members, you have this report in front of you. It's in quite substantial detail. White and Green have done quite a thorough job on this, the commissioning team, and the report's there for you for your consideration, to go through to the wider aspects of consultation, and then to be reported obviously back to this cabinet at some point in the future. It is also hoped that the outcome from Newcastle Town deal submission is known by then, and the fuller financial implications of delivering the Nutton master plan will be clearer, and a more complete report will be subsequently following. Obviously there's a lot of work to be done here. There's discussions going to be held with Aspire Housing to explore options for redevelopment through Borough Council owned sites, identifying as possible housing development for expedient delivery of this aspect of the master plan. It is hoped that more high quality housing will be delivered in Nutton to attract those professional type families that will bring in extra money and investment in the future, and to revive the community, which has gone, in the words of so many locals, is a little stagnant and neglected. So this is a much needed boost, and I'm really excited at the prospect of being on the ground to get this project moving in terms of possibility of delivering this in the future. So, councillors, I recommend this report for the Cabinet for your perusal and debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, really welcome this report as well, and I think it's obviously we won the money for the from the government for the public estates programme, didn't we? Which is has led to this work coming forward. I think you write out links into the emerging town deal for Newcastle as well. There's an opportunity there to get even more funding into this area. I think it finishes off the regeneration of Nutton, which was and the Nutton area that was started, way back in the late 90s, and has really sort of had a hiatus for a while, and we've really sort of pressed the accelerator down, and I think under your leadership as portfolio holder, Paul, to bring this forward. I think is a good series of recommendations there, which particularly the project board as well, which you'll be sitting on behalf of Cabinet, along with key partners from the county and from Aspire Housing, to really drive this forward. I think, as you say, the opportunities for Nutton and the area there, which are really great, that come from this. And I think a lot of work to do. This is, as you said, at the start of it. And there's also a consultation that we're going to go out and ask people as well, because we want to carry them along with this as well, so that it's their regeneration as well, not just imposed upon them. So I fully endorse what you said, Paul, and open it up to any sort of questions or comments. Steve?
Yeah, thank you. It's something that's been going, like you say, for a long time, and never really now, before you're driving forward now and something's actually happening. Like you rightly say, part of the town deal funding, one of the parts of the town deal is money for this, and money always helps, doesn't it, to get things going. And there will be money from this final town deal successful to start this. So I absolutely totally endorse it, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from cabinet members? Jill?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the community centre. The leaflet refers to it as the ageing and dilapidated community centre, and the plan is to place this with a new village hall and village green with play facilities close to the high street. And it seems to me, having spoken with some of the people, that this is exactly what is needed. And a lot of the people I've spoken to in Nutton like to stay in Nutton, and I think, a lot of them seem to be very much home birds. And I think that making this community centre the focal point in High Street is exactly what's needed, and it will help to put the heart back into Nutton. And I think that Nutton deserves this, having put up with this ageing amenity for so long. And also the other thing is the new pavilion on the Whammy by the car park. I think that's going to greatly enhance another leisure facility. So I'm really pleased about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, we've got the recommendations before that Paul talked about, 1 to 6. I'm not going to read them out fully, but obviously, can we all agree those recommendations and get this into the next phase? Yeah, okay, thank you, all agreed. Excellent. Moving back to the front of the agenda, we've got a couple of items relating to the crematorium. First one is the proposed extension of Newcastle crematorium grounds and the development of the adjacent land of Chatterley Valley. Two parts of this, really, and Trevor's going to first to deal with the obviously the extension of the crematorium grounds, and then Paul's going to come in about the development of the adjacent land. So first of all,
I've got Trevor. The recommendations before us are seeking cabinet approval to extend the grounds of Bradwell crematorium into adjacent council land. The car park is in need of expansion, and the road network needs updating to enable smooth entry and exit to the crematorium. Our garden of remembrance needs expansion to facilitate future needs. This work needs to be done to ensure our crematorium can continue to meet the needs of residents of the borough for the next 30 years. This also ensures that the council land assets, where appropriate, are being used to meet housing needs, community facilities and green infrastructure, encouraging economic growth.
Okay, thank you. And you're moving the recommendations? Yep.
So the recommendations.
No, you move the recommendations. Don't have to read them out.
Good, yes, okay, so I move the recommendation.
Thank you. Bring in Paul.
Thank you, Leader. I can't start my video. It says disabled by the host. So.
Oh, okay. That might have been me playing with buttons. Hold on a second. There you go. I think that'll work now. Oh, there you go.
There we go. We've got contact. Yes, I welcome this report. Just missing my name and the portfolio off the top of the report, which I'm sure will be adjusted. Yes, this is closely linked with Councillor Johnson's aspirations of the Newcastle crematorium. This is also a golden chance for us to again boost the area for the residents, to bring in good quality housing, develop amenities for the community through this. Obviously, the crematorium needs to be funded, and this will go towards that. But more importantly, it's a chance for the council to shape the community, whereas we've been at the mercy of developers in the past. We've actually been able now to have a say in what type of housing is going to be there, and also to offer it to the community in terms of what they would like to see in the area. This is very important. We know it's our responsibilities as an authority that we get this right from the start. This is key to how we're going to go forward in the future. The council's open space strategy, that was adopted in 2017, identifies this site as suitable for master planning to facilitate alternative uses, such as the mixed use for the crematorium, and also for the houses and the recreational facilities which we need in our community to maintain its healthy fit through. But you know, like pandemics like this, not wishing to repeat this on anybody, but it's important that we keep the healthy state of our communities in mind when we're building future projects like this. So not too much to add there. The information is there in front of you, councillors, and likewise with Councillor Johnson, I recommend this report to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I echo those comments from both the portfolio holders on this. I think it's an important scheme we're bringing forward. You know, securing that 30 years, further 30 years use for the crematorium. I think last time this administration was in control of the council, we moved forward on the cemetery scheme, didn't we? Which gave us 100 years of extra cemetery use.
Ground, yeah.
And I think it's appropriate that we move forward on this. I think the second part of which is releasing some of that land for some new housing on there. Again, that can be seen as investing, that money that the council get from that back into the services that we're providing. I think a key point is under item 4 is that this decision today will kick off a consultation process with stakeholders of the public about the whole plans, but also particularly about the potential housing development as well upon there. So everybody will be able to have their say, and ward councillors will be involved also. Any other comments from Steve? Yeah.
Not a huge lot. I think when you talk crematoriums and the properties, you think of Carmet side, you think of Bradwell, and I think Bradwell is something that this council can be justifiably proud of.
Yeah.
The way it looks, the way it's situated, the way it's upkept, and the fact that it's full now, and we've got to take a decision to increase the size of it, because it's sort of it's such a popular site.
Yeah.
And it is a crematorium, but I think it's a marvellous facility for the borough, really. And taxes and death are all things we're going to face.
That's right.
And I think I think anything that improves it is to be recommended.
Yeah, and an enhanced facility comes out of this, doesn't it? I call them the users, but for the people that are obviously using the service there, and are obviously dealing with a really sort of important process, really at a sad time, and to have that facility continue to be in the borough and growing in size to enable more people to use that over the future, the next 30-year period is really a sound way to go forward, and the use of that land and also the resources of the council. So we have those recommendations before us, 1 to 6. Not going to read them out, but importantly, just to emphasise again 4, which is that consultation process, which will be undertaken, and also kicking off some of that engaging consultancy to work up the plans on the back of that. I think, can we all agree the recommendations?
Agree.
Okay, thank you. Next one is in a similar vein, and is in Trevor's portfolio, is the Newcastle crematorium proposed refurbishment of the cremators. So following on from the last item, Trevor, over to you.
Right, okay. At the end of this little story, it's actually a good story at the end. This report is informing members of the proposed option and funding strategies to refurbish the cremators at the crematorium. This work is urgent and essential for continued operation of the crematorium. We need to ensure that the cremators continue at optimum levels for the duration of their anticipated working lifespan. We must also take cognizance of the winter period and the possibility of yet another wave of coronavirus. You can see from the background that we, due to diligent regular servicing and repair, are in a position to extend the working life of the cremators by another 10 years. Now, when they were originally installed, they were given 10 years ago, 10 years ago, that's right, they were given a 10-year life. And with some servicing and repairs we do now, we're going to get another 10 years out of them, and possibly another 10 after that, I'm not so sure. So the recommendation is, that the Cabinet support the planned improvements, but it's to do with the, where are we?
Procurement rules.
The procurement rules, that's what I'm looking for, the procurement rules.
Yeah, okay, so you're moving the recommendations,
I'm
Trevor?
moving
Yeah.
the recommendation.
I think
yes.
support this completely. I think if we look at that
Yeah.
date, 2009-10, I can remember when we were last in administration, we renewed those cremators, which was a big investment.
Big money, yeah.
And used some of the council's capital reserves to do that, because again, when we did the same with the cemetery, buying the land and building a new cemetery, I mean, that was criticised politically at the time as wasting money, but as we've seen there now, we've had 10 years out of them, and through this operation you're going to carry out now, we're going to get even more life out of these as well going forward. So I think this is a great investment. And of course, the preferred option is approved. We will obviously be using that exemption on the contract procedure rules to direct toward the contract without the call for competition to the manufacturer of the service provider for the current cremators. Which again is a decision of Cabinet. That's why it's come here today. But I'll open it up for any other comments on that, Steve.
It just only very quickly. I just agree, obviously, with everything Trevor said. It just goes to show that if you actually maintain these things and look after them properly, and spend a bit of money on servicing them, you get an extra 10 years out of it. So money well spent. Which
really pays back that initial investment back in 2009-11. Okay, recommendations before us then, as Trevor has read out. All agreed?
Agreed.
Excellent. Okay, right, moving on to item 10, land at Market Drayton Road, Loggerheads. Over to Paul for this one. It's your own territory as well, isn't it, Paul?
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm delighted to bring this report to Cabinet at long last to get this finally put to bed in terms of where we go forward with this. Basically, this is about the assets that we own. And how we're going to dispose of this land. If you look at the figure on page 227, you'll see the area marked out clearly in blue of the overall land that we own. This has been put together, and I thank officers and also yourself there, Leader, for your input into this as well, because this is important to the community. They can't get the funding unless they've got identified land. Funders now are getting very, very sharp in terms of supporting grants to community facilities that aren't based in reality. This gives the Loggerheads community that final hurdle. It gives them that final permission to seek that funding, and to do that, we need this piece of land in Loggerheads for the parish council to develop further. Obviously, there's risks in this. The potential is that the Loggerheads Parish Council is unsuccessful, or the community CIC is unsuccessful and able to get a project off the ground. And of course, we've got inbuilt reversal clauses in the documents that we'll be furnishing to Loggerheads Parish Council, subject to your approval. That make sure we protect the assets of the council going forward. This is a lease for 99 years for a peppercorn rent of £1. And obviously there's the legal and statutory implications about capital receipts in the region of £30,000 should the land be put back to best agricultural land. And the Loggerheads Parish Council don't build out the project. But this is, I can't support this strongly enough, really. I think this is well overdue for Loggerheads, and I really want to see this succeed because Loggerheads has missed out sorely with lots of development in the past, and it's seen none of the money ploughed back into it. And for a massive area with quite considerable residents, there's nothing this side of Newcastle that's of this ilk. So I really want to see these community facilities developed in full in time by the parish council, and I hope you'll support me in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Certainly will do that. I think this is sort of honouring that commitment that was made. I think too often, councils are criticised for making an arrangement a number of years ago and they're never fulfilling it. And I think you're quite right that the rural area has given up a lot of its land for housing. Not only for council land, but also obviously through private development on fields, etc. And this is giving something back, hopefully, via the parish council being able to develop the land how they want to and produce that facility for the community. And I think it's the right thing to do and fully support it. I think as we look at the agenda today, I mean, you look at, there's something in it for Kidsgrove, there's something in it for Nutton, there's something in it for the rural area, and there's a promise of more to come with we talked about the town deal for the town area. I think this is only right that we address these issues and help, each part of our communities, and that's what we're doing for Loggerheads here. But Steve.
I agree. I think it's been a long time coming as this. I think it's nice that the council can give something back to our areas and hand it over to the parish and say, there you go, put a community centre on, or football pitches, whatever they want to do with it. It's something back to the community that we can absolutely support. I completely agree with it.
Okay, good. So recommendations before us, all agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, that's gone through. Moving then to item 11, which is the Finance and Performance Review second quarter, July to September. Two-part report. We'll do performance in a minute, but I'll just hand over to Steve if he's got any comments on the finance side and also the supplementary, which details the capital sort of outturn at the moment. Anything to report on that, Steve? Yeah.
At the end of September, which remember this is quarter two, so it's the end of September, it doesn't include up to now. We're forecasting an overspend of 333,000 due to income losses as a result of closure of our car parks and J2 additional spending pressures in waste and recycling and homelessness. However, since that, of course, we received £408,000. The government, which supersedes this. Clearly, this forecast preceded the announcement of a second national lockdown from the 5th of November. Collection fund losses have not been as great as those experienced by many local authorities due to the historic high collection rates here in Newcastle. Currently, council tax collection is ahead of forecasts thanks to the hardship fund announced by the government back in March, which means that most people in receipt of benefits have little or no council tax liability this year. Those who can afford to pay their council tax continue to do so, and we thank them for it. Most small businesses will have no business rates liability this year, thanks to the extensive relief schemes in place. We continue to provide a range of support for businesses struggling in the current climate. More than £21 million in grants were paid out earlier in the year, and I'm pleased to be able to report that we have already started making local restriction support grant payments to business, which I've talked about before, forced to close under the current national restrictions. 44 were paid on Friday, that's when this is set out, the day after the restrictions came into force, and we expect to have paid out to more than half of all eligible businesses by the end of the week, or by the end of today, really, I would have thought. We've also received an initial £2.6 million of government funding in the form of additional restrictions grant to support businesses that remain open but have been impacted by reduced demand as a result of local and national restrictions, and expect to be in a position to start inviting applications in the coming days. I'm also pleased to report that we have received an additional £0.125 million of funding for homelessness costs and £1.75 million in advanced town deal funding that will allow us to press ahead with plans to regenerate our town centres. This includes demolishing the Zanzibar to make way for new development, repurposing the ground floor units in Lancaster buildings as employment support hub, and investing in enhanced CCTV, the sports village and leisure facilities in parks in Kidsgrove. So I'm happy to tell you that. I think this is good. I think we're on the right track. The government have come up with what they said they'd do. Levelling up Newcastle, levelling up Kidsgrove is what it's all about, and this is a sign of the times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any comments from anybody on that financial report? I think it just touches on what we discussed earlier, and obviously as part of going forward, we're monitoring. Obviously, we're well into the third quarter now. Just looking at the performance again, just to note, this is obviously July to September, so we're just emerging from lockdowns and the retail and town centre reopening and the bedding in of the new recycling service, etc. So that has affected some of the indicators. But the first one we're looking at is priority one, which is the local services that work for local people. A raft of them in there for recycling. Trevor, any comments on those?
I don't at the moment.
No, okay. I think it's just as you said last time. Yeah. The new service bedding in and showing,
we're already 20% up, yes, on the same time last year.
Okay, and food waste, of course, didn't start until August, so there's a month out of the food waste collections.
But even now, we are back at pre-COVID levels with the collections.
Excellent. Okay, over the page, we've got the cleanliness of street cleanliness indicators. Anything to comment on that, Trevor?
Only what we discussed in formal cabinet yesterday.
Okay, looking at the ICT indicators, obviously we've got the one there for calls answered in time, so to speak, and we seem to be a red for that. But obviously, as it says there, the COVID-19 increase in communications, and particularly the business grants, etc., and the other stuff as well related to the new recycling service meant a lot of, particularly early on in this quarter, meant a lot of pressure on the customer contact, which, you know, for most of this period was our only point of contact for the public, because Castle House was out of action or was being phased just for visits and appointments. Digital delivery, pressing ahead with that, an important, obviously, area for the councils as business as well going forward. And then about comms there, and obviously that's come into its own, the social media and the website is a way of directly communicating with our residents. As you can see there, 109,000 plus unique users in the quarter. That's an increase from the quarter last year, as people have moved to get their information and get their services from online means. Over the page, I think we're still on the same portfolio area, aren't we? Which is the revs and bends. Steve, anything to mention on that?
No, apart from that, it's working really well.
Okay.
The Council House of Business collection rates are now back on track following recovery action being taken for the first time this year in Q2. So now I've got nothing to add. It's a good result. Which
is just to note that recovery action was suspended during the lockdown period, the first lockdown, and we now have started that up again. Human resources, really pleased about the levels of sickness there, and I think people have acclimatised to working from home. Some people are coming back into this building in a safe environment we've created, so that's created a nice balance there of people being able to come in. As the rule is, if you need to come in for work, as the national legislation says, you can come in for work, but working from home is a priority. If not, in other cases. And that's worked really well and has been monitored. And I'd like to thank our HR team for the way they are obviously dealing with that, for both not only staff but also members, making members of the council, when they need to come in here for meetings, they're able to, but also facilitating that they can work from home and Zoom in from home if necessary. And then going on to our second priority, which is growing our peoples and places. Paul, this is your one. Over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, it's great to be able to report that everything's sunny in this department at the moment in terms of planning. The only slight blip, and it is a slight blip, is the property. We're still, though, well within target on the indicators in terms of the vacancy rate of our portfolio investment. The quality of planning applications is extremely high. The speed of major development applications, etc., and the non-majors are also within the high percentiles, far better than we've ever seen. This is really encouraging. Obviously, to sustain this every single quarter would be lovely, and the aspirations of our planning team, through their dedication and hard work, have been able to achieve this. I wouldn't like to rest on our laurels, though. We need to carry on and make sure that we're delivering this service day in and day out, that people and developers expect of a robust planning service. And also, it involves things that we've already talked about, master planning of Milton, and also master planning at Chatterley Close, the Bradwell Crematorium, which we've already talked about. We've also brought forward the planning consent from Sidmouth Avenue, and hopefully that'll be reaching its conclusion in terms of being built out very soon, and we can complete in terms of the capital receipt. So all in all, a healthy borough in terms of our planning and growing people and places. It's just a shame that it's been done on the back of COVID, but that being said, it hasn't affected the planning staff. Have been very flexible and been able to be in a position to facilitate the service whilst working from home and working in the office as well, and going out on site safely with COVID restrictions applicable. So I'm really pleased for this area. long may it continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think I'd echo that. And again, a good set of statistics. And just on the local plan, we'll be bringing a paper to November. We're in November now. In December, years going so quickly, we'll be bringing a paper about the local plan, which will be eagerly awaited. Moving on to our next priority, which is the healthy and active and a safe borough. Obviously, a number of for Helen are there to talk about on community safety.
Oh, hi. Yeah, as expected, you find the numbers of antisocial behaviour cases were increased as we came out of this lockdown, and also an increase in cases referred to regarding vulnerability to the hub. Pleasing though that you can see that we currently have 21 cases. We had 155 which were closed, so we've got 21 cases currently outstanding with regards to antisocial behaviour and violence, and we have 36 referrals which are at the Daily Club. And it's not unexpected having come out of the lockdown period. We had that period from July through to September, and I suppose if we want to be like-minded, we can actually sort of say we'll probably see something similar in the following when we actually come out of the second lockdown. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Bringing in Jill now. Obviously, the services which you're in charge of were obviously opened with a blaze of glory back in July, and now we're back in lockdown 1, but this lockdown 2. This covers obviously that first period, but anything you want to add on obviously museum and leisure?
There's not an awful lot I can say really. I mean, both lockdowns have affected performance dramatically. All I can say is what I've said before, that the staff are working hard to make sure when we're up and running that we can encourage all the people to come back again. Hopefully we've got this vaccine that by springtime, we may be back to normal and things will improve by then, but there's not really an awful lot I can say about performance. Thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you, Jill. And obviously with J2 we are obviously communicating with our members and obviously extending the offers on membership which we had in the first lockdown and through to reopening hopefully in December for that facility, and also again for the museum to get that back into use before Christmas would be really ideal if we can. Okay, last indicator, which is but certainly not the least, is our town centre for all indicator, and we've got 3 indicators there, and we've got car parking usage, we've got footfall, and we've got the market. So we'll deal with the first two. First one for me and Steve. I think car parking usage and footfall. I think given that we were just emerging from lockdown, obviously these figures are can't really be measured with last year, but I think anybody that's been into our town centre since the opening of the shops until lockdown 2 kicked in will have seen that there are more people in town. The car parks, as I've seen, are more busier, and it just shows that I think people did start out coming locally first at the end of lockdown, and we must really ensure if we do get out of this severe lockdown in December that we encourage people to come into our town with the safe events we can put on for the market and for other things like that. But Steve, anything to add on car parking and footfall?
No, I agree with you. I think with car parking, but remember that a lot of people have got accounts now, have got season tickets, so they're not going to show on here. And also we're encouraging people to pay by app, pay by the phone, but they don't have car parking tickets. So the number you expect to be skewed, but it's would be picking up, but of course it's all stopped now really. Well, not stopped, it's been hugely reduced now by the latest lockdown.
Yeah, okay. And then the market one, I think we'll deal with that as a separate one. That's a really sort of good news story looking at that percentage. Again, the good news story has been cut short and closed down again, unfortunately, but we've had some really good markets over this quarter period, and our obviously our sort of quarter target has gone improved from last year significantly in that time. And you can see there on the report the markets which some have had 93% occupancy rate, 90 for the farmers market. Tuesday antiques 93, 87% for the market fair. And so Steve, a really good story which hopefully we can pick up again when lockdown 2 ends.
An absolutely super story, Lee. I think if you sell things that people want, people will come to buy them. In the record fairs, the local artisan market have been absolutely superb. You just got to feel when you walk around on these days, you really feel that the market is going places. It's quite inspiring, actually. I could go over the top about this, but you really do feel that something's happening in the town centre, and it's just being stopped. However, we've got a small business market, hopefully either 10th or 17th of December under lights, because of course we've got lights on these things. That's being planned if we're allowed to do it. And the Castle Artisan Market, that was one that really was busy. That's booked in provisionally for the 20th of December, if we're allowed to do it. And that just sells out. In fact, they have a waiting list. I can't. If it's a safe, COVID-free environment and people absolutely flock to it. There was a band on, wasn't there, on the last one, and it was just superb. And you walked away and you thought, this is what we wanted. Oh, it is Newcastle. It's what we want. It actually is Newcastle. Yeah. And it was absolutely tremendous. So long may it continue when we can start doing it again. I think there is a place for these general and these specialised markets that bring people into the town centre. Absolutely.
Okay. And the success of the Sunday markets, isn't it, which has been really sort of which didn't really happen before. I think that's so all credit to our town centre coordinator Nick, who's really sort of grasped this nettle we had when we came in, and we obviously it was down to be given to a private company to run, and then nothing ever happened, and the private company sort of seen the market in the meantime degrade even further. We took it by the scruff of the neck, took it back in, and Steve as a portfolio has been working really closely on this with our officers, and we've seen the result there in such a sort of during that quarter we've just seen to September, the increase on the previous year, and hopefully lockdowns out of the way and getting back to some normality, the market will pick up again. And I think it's a whole different atmosphere when the market's there now than it used to be. And I think the people are reacting to that and coming in and spending their penny in the town. And also shops are all, particularly on the Sunday market, shops in the town are beginning to open more on a Sunday, which again gives people more of an opportunity to come in and shop in town with the traditional shops other than the market. So it's a good picture. If we have a vibrant market, we have a vibrant town, and we're going to get back to that again with the work officers and Steve and all of us are doing to push our town centre and market when we get back to some normality, hopefully in December. Any other comments from cabinet members on that? I'm sure all of us have experienced the market since the end of lockdown. One have seen the change in it, or seen the social media posts, which our Nick, our town centre coordinator, really has the social media going as well, which is really pushing the market and making it high profile. Paul?
Thanks, Leader. Yes, I just want to echo that, particularly about the market success, and I hope it goes to strength to strength, really. It's great to see bespoke and unusual stalls popping up there, and it's exactly what the survey questionnaire that we put out wanted for the town to see. So yes, I just echo everything that's been said there, at the risk of reporting the good things that are going on in the town centre. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So a good picture there, and that concludes our performance data rerun through for that quarter. And of course, when we're sitting here at in February time, when we look at the next quarter, it will have been impacted by the month of lockdown again. So we will have a distorted picture then. But I think for all our indicators, there are positive points in all of them, and obviously we've got plans to step up services, to reopen our town centres, and to obviously help business along as part of what we've talked about earlier throughout really this cabinet meeting. We've got plans in place for that. So the recommendation is we look at the data and obviously challenge it, and also talk about the good points. We've done that. All agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, item 12 is our forward plan, which is published on page 251 of the agenda. We'll go through it page by page, covers the next 3 months. A busy schedule again. We're obviously setting the budget and all the other things, and town deals and stuff like that, and some other stuff to do with development and growth in the borough. So page 253, any comments on that? Page 254 and page 255. So we agree that the forward plan to be published. Item 13 is any urgent business. I don't have any at this meeting. Item 14 is disclosure exempt information. We don't have any of that, so no need to go into private session. Item 15, I've had no requests to speak from either the public or members. So that will conclude the meeting today. Just to say that our next cabinet has been moved from the 2nd of December to the 9th, Wednesday the 9th at 2 o'clock, to enable us obviously to clear and have a clearer picture of how the lockdown restrictions are being eased, so we can talk about them on the 9th, as well as bring the business, which is due at the 2nd, to the 9th. So that, for the moment, concludes Cabinet, and thank you for attending. I hope those that are watching on YouTube enjoyed the experience, and also the video, which I thought was really good. And that is available on the Council's YouTube site for anybody that wants to view that again. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.